Hello, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 12 of the Midwest Gaming Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Garris, Panel Director of the Midwest Gaming Classic. This podcast episode is going to be split into two parts. The first one having to do with Doc Mack and the game Dark Presence. Not only was Galloping Ghost Arcade, along with Doc Mack, at the 2017 Midwest Gaming Classic, but Galloping Ghost Productions was at the show as well with their arcade game, Dark Presence. And there will be some exciting things with it, including the chance to learn more about this awesome one-of-a-kind fighting style game during the presentation. The second half has to do with Brian Colin and his unreleased game, Spectre Files, Deathstalker. Brian Colin has been in the arcade scene for many years and is responsible for some iconic games, including Rampage, Arch Rivals, Xenophobe, and Pigskin 621 AD. Now, together with Galloping Ghost Productions, Brian will be discussing the Spectre Files, Deathstalker, unreleased in 1985. Find out what is going on with this game in this podcast episode. And you know what? Enough of me talking. Why don't we get to the podcast?
Before the Galloping Ghost Arcade ever existed, Doc Mack had an idea to create a game called Dark Presence with a company that he was going to call Galloping Ghost Productions. As a matter of fact, he spoke with me about it years ago at the Midwest Gaming Classic when it was just an idea. It's amazing to see how that idea has transformed into a game that was playable at this year's show.
Hey everybody, this is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade. Thank you. Hope everybody's having a great time at MGC. I want to take a second to thank our celebrity guests that have joined us this weekend. Brian Colin, creator of Rampage, so many great games. Jeff Lee, creator of Cuber and Mad Planets, and Tom Aronofsky, who worked on Argus and lead programmer of Argus and Three Stooges. And of course, our Mortal Kombat celebrities, Master Daniel Pesina, like John Cage, Kobe Reptile, and Dr. Philip Ahn, who played Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 2. I want to thank them for coming out this weekend and sharing so many great stories and meeting with their fans and everything. And it's just great to hear all that and watch them meet with their fans and everything. So thank them very much, and thank you for talking with them and everything. So, also, I need to thank my guys here who've not only helped with the Galloping Ghost Arcade, but on Galloping Ghost Productions. We've had an insane last year working on Dark Presence. Last time we left MGC, it was evident that the engine that we had running Dark Presence was not going to be suitable to finish the game. There was too much lagging, and just the game could not be completed under that engine. So I have to call out especially Will Cyril, who really spearheaded the new programming. We switched the game over to Unity. And the last 8 months to a year, he's just been so focused on getting this game on track and where it should be. And everybody else, we've got Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Diaz, who, again, with the arcade and anything on the productions on arcade side, he's always there, which is awesome. All my other guys, Phil Diaz, Nick Edgerton, and Eddie. Just awesome that they have helped get the game to where it's at, and we are so anxious to show it off, and it's been such a long road, and we are finally happy to have a 4-character playable demo, alpha demo here today. There's still a ton of work, but to be able to let everybody play it and see the vision that we have we're excited for it. So thank you. So a little bit of history. We had actually shot the game back in 2005. We went into our filming studio, and it was a massive undertaking. We wanted to shoot the 10 characters from the original game, and then 20 characters for the second game, because we knew the post-production on the game was going to be immense. And we didn't know it was going to be this long. We had no idea we were going to open the arcade when we did. So it was, it's been a long road, and we've had so many people constantly asking us, when is it going to be playable? When can we see it? We've been very reserved on showing things, and to be able to present it here at MGC, which has been so supportive of us. Dan Lewson has been following us since the early inception. I believe we were still in the first year of our filming studio the first time. So huge shout out to Dan Lewson for putting together a great show and showing us so much support. So we are, a couple of things about Dark Presence. We had wanted to make a game to help kind of rejuvenate the arcade scene. With so many new arcades coming up now, in hindsight, we had, looking at the games that are coming out, there's so many companies pulling away from the arcade industry. We wanted to put out something that was not easy to do on consoles. Like, the game is designed to run on unique hardware, and it's a very large and robust game. So if it ever makes it to console, we'll have to see, because the characters are massive. The amount of video for the finishing moves is massive, and it's one of those that it's about a terabyte of data, which has just been unbelievable to work with. And again, it's a constant struggle for our guys here. So again, huge shout outs and thanks to them for making this what it is. So we really wanted to make a lot of innovative elements to the game Dark Presence. One of the first things that we did was we got rid of the mirror character imaging. So there are different left and right sides to the characters. So initially that can be a little jarring for a lot of people that are into fighting games, because when you get on the other side, your move sets can be completely different from special moves, and you're really fighting for positioning, which is another element. Like, in most fighting games, you can just jump over the other characters. In our game, you can't. It's meant to be more realistic, and we wanted to explore things that haven't been done in fighting games before. So you actually have to, like, grapple your opponent and throw them on the other side. And it ends up being, the characters are very deep, and you're almost learning two characters at one time. So it is a lot to take in. So another thing that we don't have is projectiles. So the characters themselves do play very different from one another. Their weapons are very different from one another. And the character design themselves, like, there's some very technical characters. Some characters are meant to be speed characters and just jumping a lot. And it takes a little bit of time for players to really find a character that suits their play style. So that's one thing that we hope people will explore. And maybe we can bring up Jeremiah and Will, and we can have you guys show off some of the stuff. So we have 4 playable characters. We have first the twins, Trenton and Wilson, and then Ravana and Vale. So again, there's this is an alpha, so there's some color corrections that still have to be done. Some frame data that we're still working on and everything. So it's let's move the mouse. So we again have been very quiet over the last several years with showing any video footage. So we can show off some of the like the different sides and the different special moves, some of the aspects of the way the differences between how the characters play. Also, with the backgrounds to the game, there will be an internal GPS within the cabinet that actually looks at where the game is located, and it'll be changing the time of day and the weather. So if it's like raining outside, it's raining in the game. If it's snowing outside, it's snowing in the game. And then daytime and nighttime. So with Trenton, a lot of he doesn't have a lot of special moves that can do out of the basic stance. A lot of them combo into each other. There's the entangles where you can throw them on the other side. See some of the multi-kicks. That multi-kick, actually, if you don't hit with it, it will only do the first. And so it just kind of stops there. So that's one of those things that we wanted to really explore where with the special moves where it kind of cancels itself. You don't actually do the full special move unless you connect. Like for me, it was one of those things where if it didn't hit, why would the character keep doing the moves? So. One of the things that we also added was the reactions are pretty robust, where if you hit a character on the right side of the face, it'll actually like roll out. But if you hit them on the other side, they'll roll in. So there was a lot of animations that we had to film. One of the main reasons why it did take so long, the filming process was pretty massive. So we're actually gonna have this on for the rest of the weekend. We'll be doing another presentation, and we're going to allow everybody to come up and play it. And again, it's the depth of the game. It takes a little while to get used to the controls on it, depending on which character you're playing. So this is Ravana versus Vale. We'll be doing the same stage, but in the nighttime. And depending on where the machines end up, it's going to be kind of, there might be some variations that people don't see because it is tied to a GPS. So if doesn't rain or snow, people might not see some of those background variations for quite a while. So. We've been answering a lot of questions. Is there any questions that people might have so far?
So, does it get weather reports from the internet, or how does it know what the weather's doing?
It will. It will tie into an online service that will dictate the weather to the zip code.
Is this going to be available on a game system?
We have had interest from Microsoft about putting it on home console. The problem with it is the game is just massively large. Right now it's sitting on about a terabyte of data, so it will take quite a while. We would have to negotiate a deal where we could actually put it on a hard drive to release it. We've really meant this to come out as an arcade piece and something to help promote arcades that are opening and rejuvenate interest in the arcade scene. So that's first and foremost. We didn't want to limit ourselves to what the consoles had to offer. We just wanted to make the game that we wanted to make.
So the game will not fit on a Blu-ray disc?
No.
So is this going to be other arcades use this game, or is this going to be Galloping Ghost exclusive?
No, we definitely, a while ago, we had set up a 40 arcade US tour. We have arcades interested out in Japan that have contacted us, and we want to take it out there as well. And this is something that we hope to get in as many arcades as possible. We've had a lot of interest from companies like Play Mechanics, who have been very supportive, and they want to get us out in arcades as well. So it's been great, the support that we've received, and because of the arcade, it's been great exposure. People have been watching it, and we have had just a lot of interest. Like, we get emails all the time asking, are you going to be taking the game on tour here or there? And we really want to get it in front of as many people as possible. And just like with the arcade, we love sharing the games with people. So we hope to get it in as many arcades as possible.
Is there anything, since there was such a gap between shooting and like switching engines and all that, is there anything you had to go back and reshoot?
Not really. We had a lot of footage to work with. We did spend close to 4 years in our filming studio. And due to time now, it's like some of the actors that shot with it, they can't do the moves anymore. Which has been one of the problems that it's unfortunate. There's days where we're working on a move and it's like, I really wish we could go in and refilm that. I'd do that different. But we have what we have to work with. And even the advancement with like 4K, it's like, it'd be great to go back and shoot it. Like when we shot this, HD was just coming out. So it's there's a little bit of grain in the characters and stuff. And that's just one of the things that we have to roll with. Like, it's definitely not the game that the industry has been designing hardware to support. Like, there's not, even we're running on Unity now, and that is not an engine designed to run 2D sprite-based games. It's all 3D. And one of those things, we never for a second thought of changing it, because going back, it pays an homage to what they did with Mortal Kombat and with the live actors and everything. It has more of a classic feel to it. So that was always something that I thought was so cool, and it's still unique. It was one of those things that was funny. Midway tried to redo Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 with live actors. And that was one of the things that's so great. They put all this time and effort into it, and they couldn't accomplish it. They were like, the original is better. And they kind of abandoned the project. And it's been one of those things where what they were doing was just trying to mimic the exact what MK1, 2, and 3 did, like frame for frame. So their characters were around 250 frames per character. We scaled back our frames, but our characters were up around 17,000 frames without the finishing moves. And again, we've scaled that back just due to speed issues, but there's a lot of times where we're putting frames back in because we absolutely want to make a game that's very balanced and fluid. And that's one of those things where for a fighting game to be good, you have to have that balance. Having our characters with such diverse weapons and special moves, it's been good and bad. Like some characters have an excellent reach, some do better damage, some are really fast, some have better jumps. So we have a lot of different ways that we can balance the characters. We looked at pretty much every other fighting game out there, and we really wanted to not cut any corners. Even like down to our hitboxes. Like most games just have these blanket squares that they put over everything, or giant circles, and you'll notice that the hitboxes aren't very accurate. Even in the multi-million-dollar games like MK and Killer Instinct, for us, we meticulously went through frame by frame. And at one point, we were at 151,000 frames of animation for the game. So we have single moves that have more frames of animation than entire characters in Mortal Kombat. So it's something that when we brought in industry people, they think we're crazy when we start showing them like, oh, this is what we're doing. And they're like, why are you doing that? You should scale this back and just put something out. But we're interested in doing something different and trying to look for new ways to innovate, and even down to the cabinet itself. Like, we've added so much hardware on the cabinet. For example, there's 7-inch touch screens and USB ports on the cabinet. So you can stick a thumb drive into the cabinet, and as you find moves, it'll write it to your USB drive, which you can take home and look at how you'll have a complete moves list. But the moves list will actually display on the 7-inch touchscreen. So back in the day, when MK and Street Fighter were out, everybody's running around with sheets of paper, and everybody had their moves list, and that was sometimes you go to an arcade and there'd be a full of movies there. So that was one of the things that was cool. It was something that you don't get that now. Like everybody just goes online and all the information is kind of put out there and given. And that's one of those things we want people to kind of take a step back and try to learn to find their own moves again. And there's not tutorials out there. People can share and explain how to do moves to one another, but it's something you kind of have to find for yourself. I'm sure it will eventually make its way to the internet, but it's not something that we're just going to throw out there and just give to everybody. We want people to explore the game and really try to find things and make it like it was back in the 90s when new fighting games were coming out and they were unique and captivating to people.
Some prior partners got edited out so when people were doing moves they had something to interact with?
We had, for some moves, we did have characters that, like for some of the kicks, we'd have kick pads that would come in there. The chroma key work on this game, I think we spent probably 3 years in post-production. We had, at the most, we had 6 people working on chroma key because every frame of the game had to be touched up by hand and shadows had to be taken out, swords had to be redrawn. There were times where we were working on the game and the swords would just disappear because we were swinging them so fast. And it was, on some stuff it was a learning process, some stuff we wanted to make the characters fast, and then when we got to the chroma key process, it was like, oh, well, now we've got to redraw 60 frames of the sword swing back in. So it's really been interesting trying to, like once it was filmed, it was kind of like that was it by the time we got out of the studio. But it was a massive undertaking with the filming process, especially doing the finishing moves. We had every character interact with every other character, which pretty much created 437 unique finishing moves. And they were all shot like little movies. So we would do one part of it, and then we'd do a camera change, and then do another part of it, and another camera change. And it's one of the things that made the game take so long to film. In doing that, we had a few trips to the emergency room where people were getting hurt and stuff, but it only lets the realism of the game, so all for the good of the game. But in doing that, that's been one of the other things that has kind of led to such a long production time, because if you watched all the finishing moves, it's about an hour and a half of video, done in 2-second increments, because there's a lot of jump cuts. And then we have to go back and fix all the 3D environment animations, so it's just been a tremendous amount of work. So that's, right now we've been focusing on the characters and the gameplay themselves, so that's the main focus currently. Unfortunately, we don't have any of our finishing moves in place now, but probably pretty soon after we get back from the show, we're going to be putting out an official trailer and everything. So if people want to check out on our website, they can check us out on Facebook. We're going to start doing a lot more presentations and showcasing what we're working on, talking more about the hardware. Another hardware aspect that we haven't mentioned is the prize drawer on the front of the cabinet. We actually have characters sculpted from Chris Elizardo, who was a sculptor for McFarlane Toys that worked on Spawn and the military series. And he's an amazing sculptor. So he sculpted all of our figures from the game. And one of the things that we're doing is making these available through the actual arcade machine itself. So inside each machine will be one set of figures. So if you're the first person to finish the game, the machine will actually dispense the 8-inch hand-painted resin statue out of the cabinet. And they're going to be, it's not something that, currently we're probably not going to be selling these. We're going to make them exclusive to the arcade machines. So the hope is that people will travel if they finish the game at one arcade and somebody's already won the Trenton figures, they'll have to go to another arcade to see if they can get it there. And that'll be up to the operator if they want to replenish the machine with more figures. But Chris Elizardo, great sculptor. Ken Coy is here. from Koi Concepts, who does all the casting, and Denise Peterson is our painter. And the three of them have just done such a tremendous job in getting these figures to us. And again, currently there's such a limited run of them. But they're actually on display in the center of the cabinet, but again, you can actually win them on the machine once the game is actually completed.
And then we finished our game. Can you play any of the characters in the game? And then we went out.
I do. I did all the fight choreography. I actually played Trenton Wilson and Vale in the first game. One of the things that we wanted to, it was not the intention. We actually initially had approached some of the actors from Mortal Kombat to be a part of the game, and it was difficult to get actors in just because the duration of filming was just kind of a question. And it was very difficult on our actors. We had, because the filming, we didn't know how long it was going to take, we had to let them know that they had to maintain continuity. So they couldn't go out in the sun, they couldn't go get a suntan, they couldn't cut their hair, they couldn't go get a new tattoo or anything. It was very, very taxing on the actors. Again, they were getting beat up pretty bad during the filming because when we wanted to make all the falls and stuff look as realistic, it was kind of, okay, now just throw yourself down and don't break the weapon and make it look like it hurts, and then get right back up in your stance. And if we're more than like 2 inches out of your mark, you have to refilm it. So the actors would leave just covered in bruises. We had one of the girls in the second game, Cocker White. She was off at college, and I got a call one day. She was all upset. She's like, I'm at the office and at the college, and they're trying to say that I'm in an abusive relationship because I'm just covered in bruises. And I had to explain to them that, no, she's filming a video game and she gets these bruises from, but they thought that she needed some help just because she was in some abusive relationship that she wasn't. We were just beating her up at work. So. But it was definitely a lot of fun. Again, we had a few trips to the emergency room, but the actors were, the ones that ended up in the game were just so all about doing the filming, and it was such an interesting time, and we're so thankful for them for putting in such time and effort. And again, they've been so patient with, as the fans have been, with the duration of the development time on the game. So we're so anxious to have our launch party at the arcade. So we're going to have all the actors in and be telling stories of development. We've got a ton of behind-the-scenes footage. So if anybody's interested, again, stay tuned to our Facebook and come out, and we'd be happy to have the fans part of it. Are there any other questions? Yeah, let's bring it up. I guess that'll wrap up the presentation, and we'll let everybody play the game. So thanks, everybody. We hope you enjoy it. It's just the start. And again, keep an eye on our Facebook page and our website, and we hope you enjoy Dark Presence. So thanks, everybody, and step on up and give it a try.
If you've played Rampage, Pigskin 621 AD, Xenophobe, or Arch Rivals, you've played a game that Brian Collins helped create. Brian helped create more games in the arcade, but some of those games went unreleased, including a game called Deathstalker. That game, Brian and Galloping Ghost Arcade are working together to bring out so that you can play in the future at their arcade.
All right, everybody, we are going to start the Spectre Files presentation. Here is legendary game creator Brian Colin to tell us about it.
Thank you, Doc Mack. I'm Brian Colin. I'm probably best known for a lot of my early arcade games. I've been making games for 35 years now. And I started at Midway, and so a lot of people know me for games like Rampage and Spy Hunter and Discitron and Pigskin and Arch Rivals and Xenophobe. And while I was really lucky in those days to be able to work on a lot of projects at once for Midway, and people know me for the games that got released and that did pretty well, and there's the other side of Brian Colin's games, which are games like Patooey Louie, which was a bikini-clad woman flying on a giant watermelon seed-eating pterodactyl who would spit them at giant killer invisible bees that didn't do so well. So it didn't get released. We're here today with Doc Mack. Doc has released some of the games that are not as well known as others. Doc Mack at the Galloping Ghost is fanatic about creating a world in which that these older games are not forgotten. And one of the games that Doc heard me talk about was a Laserdisc game that I shot on 16 millimeter for Bally Midway back in the day, called Deathstalker, the Spectre Files. It was a B-movie detective parody. Sorry. It was a B-movie detective parody that was meant to be an interactive fiction kind of game. Unlike the games that were coming out at the time that were just simply, it's a Laserdisc game, but we're just taking the camera and running it down a canyon and calling it Astron Bell.
You want to that way?
I said to my bosses, I said, look, I went to school for film. Give me a budget, give me some time, I can make this movie. So I put it, they said okay, I put an ad in the paper, said vampires wanted, no experience necessary, and I got some strange responses, but I got a bunch of actors who were willing to do this game unpaid. We rented a closed insane asylum in downtown Chicago that had electricity, but no heat. So in the month of February, we went there, and it was at record lows, where there was about 17 below on a good day. We had to stop shooting in the place on several occasions because the actor's breath would rise to the ceiling, freeze, and then the lights would turn on, and in the middle of the shot, snow would start falling as their breath would come. So it was an interesting month-long shoot. I shared this story with Doc, and Doc said, why don't we recreate this game? Well, number one, it was never done. The game was never, the film was created, but by the time we got done with the film, Midway had made the mistake of making their premier Laserdisc game. They got the rights to the NFL, an NFL interactive game. They decided to put it on video disc, which, for those of you that understand the difference in ancient technologies, means I've got a game, instead of a game with a laser, I've got a game with a needle. Okay, needle, disc, arcade game, $2,000 doorstop. And I just did it there too. But, so they decided we're not doing any more disc games. So it never happened. And Doc said to me, we're going to do this thing. So I dug up, I found the old original footage. And last year we began a recreation or a restoration of a game that had never actually been completed. And we made great headway, and then we had to take a hiatus. The Galloping Ghost priority shifted to that incredible game in the corner, which is almost there. And until just a few weeks ago, we got the green light to return to Deathstalker, the Spectre Files. And today we're going to we're going to unveil the first playable demo of the game, where you can play all the way through. You can, it's about a young girl who's missing. Her name is Buffy McGuffin, and it's your job to find her. And it is just what you think it would be. It's very much an interactive fiction, ABC choice sort of thing. The acting is superb. You know, the cinematic quality is first rate for a 22-year-old 16 millimeter, 22-year-old filmmaker on a minimum budget in working in his spare time after work. So I'm going to come around here and turn it back on again. No, I'm not. Where's the mouse? I apologize for the unphotogenic pose there. Let's see if we can bring this back up. There we go. Okay. There she is. The new Deathstalker, the first, the alive, the resurrection of this undead game. You guys, as soon as we shut this down, you can come up and you can play. You can watch the music video, which has been out on the internet forever. You can read about backstory about everything I just said, only I said it much cleaner and shorter here on screen. Or you can play the game. And the game, you can't play the entire game, it's not done, but you can play through, you can get a feel for this sort of absurd B-movie interactive film that we did here. And my enormous thanks to Doc Mack and the Galloping Ghost for wanting to, again, restore a game that has never been created, never been finished. So I really don't have anything else to say about Spectre Files that without just rambling about horrific and incredibly funny bits for each of the scenes and monsters and characters and god-awful cinematics you're going to see in here. So I'm going to shut up. And on that note, I'd like to invite you all to come up and play the Spectre Files, courtesy of Galloping Ghost Productions. Oh, wait. Yeah, I guess I should see if there's any questions, since everybody else did questions. Got a question? Yes?
So obviously, you know what?
I had a copy of the original 16 millimeter footage. You will see the film scratches. It's not as bad as work print. It is an actual print from the original. It was shot on 16 millimeter. You got me. Whatever. Oh yeah, no. This looks like 30-year-old film that you're going to see. So it's faded. If you want authenticity, it's in there. And if by authenticity we mean ooh, there's a lot of that in there.
I have one other question.
Yeah, sure.
Since the new games are running on the Unity engine, Windows, will there ever be a home version?
I'm going to have to dial Doc in on that, because obviously this game, it's a restoration. It is one of these things that we've also created an interactive film editor software that we're going to release for Unity. So while we may not be able to release the game for home version or for Unity version, we may be able to release it as a sample along with the interactive film editing software. So we're trying to negotiate, because it's a little tricky, because we did it for Midway, back in the day. So. That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Next question? Next question. Yeah. Some of the actors are. I still have all their names on file. When we're done, they will all get credit on screen. I had 3 students from film school from my alma mater take the semester off and come live in my attic to shoot the film and then edit it. It was very much a seat of the pants labor of love, and yeah, but no, nobody knows this is coming until it's done. I wouldn't even be showing it to you guys because I hate people seeing stuff that's not done, but Doc loves showing stuff in its purest form, and that's this. That's exactly what this is. Any other questions? All right, then I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all for coming to MGC. Thank you all for coming down here and supporting Doc and the Galloping Ghost. And thanks to Doc for doing this kind of insanity, which nobody can talk him out of. Nobody can talk him out of. Thank you, everybody.
And there you go. That's the end of this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, learning about Galloping Ghost Productions and their production of Dark Presence and resurrecting the unreleased 1985 gem, the Spectre Files Deathstalker, which was created and put together by Brian Colin. And that's it. That's all I have for this week. And until next time, remember, please subscribe, comment, and like. It helps out the video and the channel very much. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and game on.